Have you ever noticed how nothing really changes when you get your first good paycheck, but everything feels heavier? Not richer, not freer, just heavier. That's usually the moment life quietly starts changing faster, right after your first $20,000. Let me explain. Picture a very normal situation in the US or Europe. You're in your mid-20s or early 30s. You finished school or training. You finally landed a real job. Your salary sounds decent on paper, maybe $45,000 a year in the US or 40,000 euros in Europe. Then reality steps in. After taxes, Social Security, health insurance, that number quietly drops. Your monthly take-home becomes something like $2,700, maybe $2,900 if you're lucky. Now life starts claiming its share. Rent or mortgage comes first. $1,100 to $1,400 disappears instantly. A car payment follows, not luxury, just something reliable. Another $300 to $400 gone. Insurance, fuel, maintenance, let's say $200 more. Student loans or old education debt, $250. Credit cards, because life never stays predictable, another $150. Before food, before savings, before living, you're already close to zero. And this is where the system quietly sets the trap, because nothing here feels irresponsible. You didn't buy a sports car, you didn't move into a penthouse, you didn't waste money, you just followed the normal script. Here's the hidden mistake almost no one talks about. The problem isn't how much you earn, it's how quickly your lifestyle locks in permanent monthly obligations before your income has any room to breathe. Let's do very simple math. A $350 car payment over 5 years isn't $350. It's over $21,000 before interest, insurance, or repairs. That apartment that's just $300 more than the cheaper option? That's $3,600 a year. Over 5 years, $18,000 for space you barely notice after month 2. Slowly, quietly, your first $20,000 doesn't create freedom, it creates commitments. And psychologically, this is where things get dangerous, because your brain interprets income growth as safety. I'm doing better now. I deserve a little comfort. I can handle this payment. But your brain isn't calculating long-term pressure. It's reacting to short-term relief. After years of financial stress, stability feels like success. So people reward themselves not with joy, but with obligations. And once obligations increase, fear replaces flexibility. You stop thinking in years, you start thinking in paychecks. That's why life feels like it speeds up. Because when every month is pre-allocated, time stops feeling open. Weeks blur together. You're busy, but not progressing. If this pattern continues for 10 years, the cost isn't just money, it's missed options. You can't take a career risk. You can't move easily. You can't reduce hours to learn something new. You can't breathe financially, even with a decent salary. Now here's the quiet shift financially intelligent people make, and it's not flashy. They don't ask, "Can I afford this monthly payment?" They ask, "What does this payment remove from my future choices?" They understand that the first $20,000 is not a reward, it's a test of patience, a test of identity, a test of whether comfort will control decisions. Instead of upgrading everything at once, they delay locking their income into fixed costs. They protect flexibility like it's an asset, because it is. Not because they're smarter, but because they respect how fragile early financial stability really is. Life doesn't change faster because you earned more. It changes faster because obligations compound faster than income. And once you see that clearly, there's no guilt, only awareness. Awareness gives you options. Options give you time. And time is the real advantage money is supposed to buy. If this perspective helped you think more clearly about money and life, you can subscribe for more calm, realistic discussions like this. Now, let's slow this down even more, because this is where most people misunderstand what's actually happening. When income rises for the first time, people think they're moving forward. But financially, most are just standing still in a more expensive position. Your life looks better on the outside, but internally, the margin is gone. Here's the uncomfortable part. Most middle-class people aren't trapped by low income. They're trapped by early decisions made when money finally felt okay. That first $20,000 above survival feels like a turning point, so people treat it like permission. Permission to relax, permission to stop worrying, permission to stop thinking. And the system encourages this. Banks don't ask if a loan limits your future. They ask if your income can cover the payment. Employers don't warn you about lifestyle inflation. They celebrate promotions. Social media doesn't show financial pressure. It shows milestones. A better car, a nicer apartment, a vacation financed on a credit card but framed as self-care. None of this is evil, but all of it quietly accelerates life. Because once your expenses rise, your tolerance for uncertainty drops. You become risk-averse, not because you're cautious, but because you're obligated. And this changes how you think. You stop asking, what do I actually want long-term? You start asking, what keeps this system running? That's the mental shift most people never notice. This is why two people earning the same salary can live completely different financial lives. One feels constantly behind, the other feels calm. Not rich, just calm. The difference isn't income, it's fixed costs versus optional costs. Financially intelligent people don't hate comfort, they just delay permanent upgrades. They understand that early income growth is fragile. Jobs change, industries shift, health happens, economies slow down. So instead of locking every dollar into something monthly, they keep space. That space is invisible but powerful. It's what lets you say no to a toxic job. It's what lets you survive a layoff without panic. It's what lets you think in years instead of weekends. Most people never experience this because their first $20,000 disappears into normalization. Life doesn't suddenly feel exciting, it feels busy. Now here's something rarely said out loud. Middle-class stress is often not caused by poverty. It's caused by constant financial noise, notifications, due dates, balances, renewals. Even when you're doing fine, your mind never rests. That mental load costs energy, energy you could use to learn, to grow, to pivot. Instead, it gets spent maintaining, and over time, maintenance becomes identity. I can't risk it. I have responsibilities. This is just how life is. But that's not life, that's structure. A structure built very early, very quietly. This is why life feels like it speeds up after your first real money. Because once your income is fully assigned, time becomes expensive. Every month passes whether you grow or not, and growth requires margin, financially and mentally. The people who seem ahead aren't smarter, they're just less locked in. They didn't upgrade everything at once. They didn't confuse earning with arriving. They treated money as a tool for control, not comfort. And here's the most important part. This isn't about regret. Everyone has made these choices. Everyone follows the script at first. The goal isn't guilt, it's awareness. Because awareness changes the next decision. You start noticing which expenses actually improve life and which only look like progress. You stop measuring success by how full your schedule is or how new your car feels. You start measuring it by how calm your months feel. That's real stability. Not flashy, not impressive online, but deeply valuable. Life doesn't have to slow down to feel meaningful. It just needs room to breathe. And money, when handled thoughtfully early on, is what creates that room. If this way of thinking made you pause, even briefly, you'll probably enjoy more conversations like this.